And now, protests and violent clashes have been growing across Egypt, with President Mohamed Morsi first giving himself almost limitless powers through a presidential decree, placing him above the courts of the land, and then pushing for a new Egyptian constitution that critics say is largely Islamist and very divisive. Morsi's critics are accusing him and the Muslim Brotherhood of pushing an authoritarian agenda. And despite criticism from the Egyptian Supreme Court, President Morsi has refused to bow before the Egyptian judiciary and curtail his powers. Thousands of demonstrators returned to Cairo's Tahrir Square to protest the final draft of the new constitution, saying it does not represent all Egyptians. Joining us now for more on this is Chitra Kalyani, an Egypt-based journalist who's currently touring India, and of course Dr. Wael Awad, the West Asia expert who's a familiar face on the world, here with us. Thank you both of you for joining us. I'm going to begin with you, Chitra, because you've grown up in Egypt. You're a journalist based in Cairo. You were very much, along with your friends, part of the People's Revolution almost 2 years back, and now looking at how things are developing, President Morsi's almost insatiable surge for power. Do you feel this is a huge disappointment for those in the revolution?
Yeah, I believe so. I think a lot of people were expecting this because people have been resigning from the Constituent Assembly that is forming this constitution, and they were sort of expecting that this is somehow where the country is going to lead, with more and more Islamism or Islamist agenda.
What really are the fears, not only from Morsi's growing powers, but also this new constitution, and why is it being called so divisive?
Well, a lot of freedoms will be curtailed. For example, it only grants supremacy or primacy to 3 religions, and actually mostly just to one. So it's Islam has prime advantages, being the guiding religion to the constitution. So Sharia is the guiding principle of the constitution and the laws underneath it. Then you have Christianity being recognized, and Jewish Egyptians, which are
so the 3 Abrahamic religions.
The 3 Abrahamic
religions. But apart
religions.
from those, what about the other minorities?
Yeah, apart from that, you do have a Baha'i element in Egypt, and you also have Shia Muslims, which won't be recognized, and this might lead to in public circles they won't be recognized. Their voter IDs will not. I mean, how will those be issued? Because they do mention your religion, and admissions in public schools, treatment in public hospitals.
All of that is going to be affected, and that's really, Dr. Awad, the last thing that I suppose Egyptians would want, or people across West Asia would want, because we're seeing these revolutions, people's revolutions, and it's really an unfinished process, isn't it? And Egypt was seen as leading the way, and if this is the way things are developing there, it's quite scary.
I think I agree fully with you and Chitra's point. Let us agree in one point also, that the revolution in Egypt was led by different forces, which has been at the helm of power. Now it has led by the young, by everybody. All strata of society have gone into the street of Egypt, and they wanted to have a different kind of aspiration for a new life, for a new modern Egypt. And suddenly you bring the Muslim Brotherhood and you put them at the helm of power, and they don't know how to rule. So any decision the Muslim Brotherhood will take, or the Salafists will take, it will be looked at as if and adverse to the real Egyptian moderate society, because we have seen the wave of changes happening inside. First of all, the constitutions, the Coptic and the other liberal forces have pulled out. Then you have also the people, the cabinet, the ministry he formed, there was not a single lady inside. This is also changes, the wave of change, the social fabric within the society of Egypt also have added additional headache to the rest of the groups in society, as Chitra said. So people feel uncomfortable. So whatever the current president do is trying to put himself above the law, is really in terms.
And he's coming for a lot of criticism from the Supreme Court, but he's refused to back down.
That is why you could see the street of Egypt now, you could see only one flag, and that is the flag of Egypt. You could see spontaneous movement into the street. People are gathered in different squares, trying to tell to the world, look, we are here, the revolution just started. We have not finished the revolution, and we are waiting to achieve our aim.
Very quickly, Chitra, is that the sense amongst the revolutionaries in Tahrir Square, that it's time now to take the revolution to the next level?
Definitely, I would say so. I think it's a sign. It's a good sign already that the Tahrir Square is now belonging to these revolutionaries. It used to be a Friday stronghold for Islamic forces that that would take over after Friday prayers. You'd find them there at the square, and now you have the revolutionaries there, and the Friday bunch have now gone to Cairo University for their sort of support. So I think it's already looking bright, and I think now that Egypt has seen revolution, it has seen what people can do with their numbers. I think it looks very positive.
It's empowering.
Yeah,
it's empowering for people.
And
absolutely.
I think that the dangerous trends I would add to the point is that we have seen the differences between the political forces, but what we are seeing in Egypt now is a segregation in the society as well. We have the liberal, the social, the communism in one side, the Salafist, the Muslim Brotherhood, and the rest of the...
But isn't all that part of an evolving democracy?
Well, that's what we are giving. It's too early to judge.
It's false and negativity. All right. I have to move on to another region in West Asia that's had the world's focus this week. The United Nations General Assembly endorsed an upgraded UN status for the Palestinian Authority, with 138 member countries voting for an observer status at the UN and 9 voting against. 41 members abstained. The overwhelming vote came despite intense opposition from the United States and Israel. Interestingly, Germany was one of the countries that abstained from the vote, despite Germany having a long history with the Jewish state. And now this resolution elevates Palestine's status from that of a non-member observer entity to non-member observer state, the same category as the Vatican. And that, of course, will leave a lot for the next step. Interestingly, the IMF has clarified that this UN vote does not mean the Palestinians will automatically become a member of the financial institution. Also raises questions about Palestinians' hopes of approaching the International Criminal Court against Israel. Dr. Wael Awad, this was a historic step forward. But again, it's just another bend in the road for a struggle for statehood. The two-state theory, is it still alive? Is there still hope?
I think this resolution may sound more symbolic, but it has already brought back the Palestinian issue to the international table, where Israel tried to make it...
And it's shown that it has a huge amount of support.
Of course, because you see, it is the longest suffering plight of a people in the mankind history, where the formation of the United Nations started with the resolution 1947 of dividing Palestine into 2 states, and suddenly now you see nothing left, 12% of Palestine, where these people have the hope of having it their own state, even with that small part of territory remain under their hands. So therefore, I think it has shown that the people make the destiny and not the leaders.
And the people of the world listen.
Absolutely, and that's what the most important part of it.
Yeah. Chitra, interestingly, in the run-up to this vote, you had those terrible clashes between the Hamas rebels and Israeli forces, and it was President Morsi who played peacemaker.
Yeah.
Of course, Egyptians have been huge supporters of the Palestinian cause, but what do you read into Morsi's role now in West Asia, given his growing influence and his position, his unique position?
I think he's trying to win allies, and quite rightly so. Like he's now brokered this peace treaty or this peace with Israel right now, and then he has consequently won some U.S. favor, and then he was immediately launched into getting his power as a unquestioned power over the judiciary, and then passing through this constitution. So he's now got this this image as somebody who promotes like international relations, and then can talk about Sharia law in his own country.
In his own country, yeah, and of course he's got the backing of the Brotherhood. So, but it's interesting. Egypt also playing a role that you'd imagine Turkey and Iran to be playing more so in the region. But I suppose that's also very germane to this particular issue at hand. But what I want to ask you is the next step, and there was a lot of hope that the Palestinians could then take Israeli atrocities to the International Criminal Court, and that, if you're looking at the IMF clarification, that's not a good sign for their hopes of getting justice there, is it?
No, I think there will be lots of other issues. There are 26 United Nations agencies where the Palestinian can go and show their cause also. They can join the UNESCO, where they can safeguard the Al-Aqsa Mosque, or they can safeguard their heritage, where Israel trying to annihilate what left of Palestine because they are looking at Palestine as a as a Jewish state for the Israelis. So they wanted the 1948 Palestinian Arabs, Israelis who are staying inside, who have taken their citizenship. Now they want to remove them. So they maybe have a bargain chips. Look at the response of Israel from
with the settlements.
3,000 settlement. He's already issued it. So therefore, I think the
but is that more of belligerence and saying, or is that a
the dangerous trends in the Israeli society that we have the majority now of the people in the society, right wing, are refusing to have a peace with the Palestinians. Now with the Gaza operation and also the bringing back this issue of the voting in the UN, I think the people of Israel realize that you cannot keep on suppressing the people. Occupation should end, and Palestinians should have the right of self-determination in their own territories, and with the capital east of Jerusalem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the manner in which Germany went with this vote is a clear sign of how things are changing in that.
Well, I think let me add one point here. Germany themselves, Hitler himself have sent the first ship of Jewish immigrant to Palestine, and Amin al-Husseini, the Imam of Mosque of Al-Quds, lodged a complaint to Hitler that you have sent migrant Jewish. So don't play with history. Don't try to teach people that you are the democratic countries. You are really hurting the cause of democracy in the world and the self-determination of a plight of suffering people. Europe now exposed with this vote, and I think it's the time to put on the table and put it on the right track.
All right. Well,
if I may add, like I think that's a card that they're going to save for later. The ICC, like they don't plan to use it anytime soon. It's only an event of like aggression. That's what being says in.
But it's the next logical step, I would imagine.
Yeah, but they're waiting for it. They're waiting to keep it
under wraps. All right. Well, we'll have to leave it at that. Completely out of time on this discussion. But thank you very much, Chitra and Dr. Wad, as usual, for joining us.